Hello friends, welcome to Arthapada. In this video, I'm going to be talking about how laws are formed in India. The formation of a law starts with something known as a bill. Simply put, a bill is a legislative draft. For the lawmaking process to start, a bill must first be introduced into the legislative process. It goes through the rigorous checks of the Houses of Parliament, and finally the President must give his consent to the bill. Only then it becomes an act. Article 245 of the Indian Constitution states that the lawmaking power vests with the Parliament and the state legislature. Parliament must make laws for the whole country, while the state legislature makes laws for their respective states. Article 246 of the Indian Constitution states that the lawmaking power has to be distributed between the centre and the states. List 1, also known as the Union List, consists of all the subject matters which the Parliament can legislate on. List 2, which is also known as the State List, consists of all the subject matters on which the states can legislate upon. List 3 is known as the Concurrent List. In this list, both the centre and the state, that is the Parliament as well as the state legislature, can legislate upon the subject matters present in the same. Hence, we can say that the lawmaking powers is distributed between Article 245 and 246 on the basis of geographical and subject matter distinction. Now that we've understood who makes the laws, let us understand how the laws are made. The bill has to be introduced in either House of Parliament. It can be introduced in Lok Sabha or in Rajya Sabha. For the purpose of this video, let's just assume that the bill is introduced in the Lok Sabha. If the bill is to be introduced in Parliament by a private member, then it is known as a private member's bill. If the bill is introduced in Parliament by a minister, then it is known as a government bill. Bills itself are classified into many types. The most common one is known as ordinary bills, while others are known as money bill and ordinance replacing bill. The rules with regards to the passage of all of them is almost the same, except with a few distinctions. Once it is introduced in the Lok Sabha, the bill goes through a rigorous screening process. It goes through 3 readings. The first reading is known as the introduction stage, the second reading is a clause-by-clause reading, and the third reading decides whether the bill gets passed or not. Let us assume that an ordinary bill is introduced in the Lok Sabha by a minister. In the first reading, the member in charge of the bill must first ask permission from the Lok Sabha to introduce the bill. At this stage, the MPs will only decide whether the bill must be tabled or not. Many private member bills get rejected at this stage itself, while most government-backed bills pass this stage because the bill is backed by an entire political party. After the bill has been introduced, the bill is published in the Official Gazette. The Official Gazette is also known as the Government Gazette, the Official Journal, the Government Newspaper, the Government Bulletin, etc. It is authorized to publish public or legal notices. Think of it like the newspaper of the country. Everything that the government requires us to know will be published in the Official Gazette. After the bill is introduced, the bill may be referred to a standing committee. The standing committee are a bunch of experts on the field in which the law is proposed to regulate. They will submit a report on their finding and their conclusions to the Lok Sabha, and the Lok Sabha can choose to implement the findings of the report or not. After the report is submitted, the second reading takes place. The second reading has 2 stages. The first stage is a general discussion on the whole bill. They will also discuss the report submitted by the standing committee. In the second stage, a clause-by-clause discussion on the bill is done, and amendments to any clause is considered at this stage. In the third reading, the member in charge can move to pass the bill. In this stage, the only vote shall be on whether the bill should be passed or not. A simple majority on the members present and voting is required for the bill to be passed. After the 3 readings are done in the Lok Sabha, it must be sent to the Rajya Sabha for all the readings except for the introduction stage. The Rajya Sabha can then pass the bill, reject the bill, or accept it with amendments. When a bill is passed by both the houses, the bill is sent to the President for his assent. The President has to then affix his signature to the bill. Once the bill receives the assent of the President, it becomes an act. Money bills can only be introduced in the Lok Sabha. The Rajya Sabha cannot amend any provisions of the bill. Instead, it can only give recommendations. The recommendations can be accepted by the Lok Sabha, or the recommendations can even be rejected by the Lok Sabha. Assuming that it is rejected, the bill is still considered to have been passed by both the houses of Parliament. So that's why we can say that the Lok Sabha has absolute power with regards to money bills, while the Rajya Sabha has no power with regards to money bills. Ordinance is a type of temporary law which can only be passed by the President under Article 123 of the Indian Constitution. This power is given to the President to be used in case of dire need or because the Parliament is not in session. The sessions of the Parliament are generally divided into the budget session, which happens from February to May, the monsoon session, which happens from July to September, and the winter session, which takes place in November and December. An ordinance is valid only for 6 weeks after the Houses of Parliament come back into session. So, ordinance replacing bills are bills which are being converted from an ordinance which was promulgated by the President into a legislation. It follows the exact same rules as that of an ordinary bill. Sometimes a bill is passed by one house and rejected by the other house. Except in the case of money bills, if there is a deadlock, the President may call for a joint sitting and essentially force the two houses to work together and either pass the bill with a majority or reject the same. If there is a majority, the bill is passed. When a bill is passed, it becomes the law of the land, and it can have wide-ranging effects. Some laws can be peaceful and is easily accepted by society, while some other laws can have a negative impact on society. Take for example the Citizenship Amendment Act, the farm bills, etc., which caused massive protests and rioting throughout the country. I hope you found this video to be informative and interesting.